Hey, you guys, happy new year. Oh, it's 2023. I can't believe it. And welcome to this episode of The Rachel Cruze Show. And today's episode, I have my dad, Dave Ramsey, back with us. Thanks for being back.
Good to be back. Time to kick off the year.
I know. And we do this video every year. You may not remember, but we've done this 3 years in a row. I think it's been 3. And it's one of the highest viewed episodes that we do, probably because you're here, which I'm thankful for.
It's because everybody wants to know what to do at the first of the year.
That's true too. So we love to talk about, okay, what are things that you can do differently this coming year than maybe you did in the past, according to trends and what's going on in the world. So we're gonna walk through 12 things that you guys can do different this year. And last year specifically, 2022 was nuts with just the markets were up and down, inflation, like all this stuff, the housing market. It just felt like a wild year financially.
Mm-hmm. It did. These things, there's a couple of reasons you need to look at these 12 things. Number one is the old thing, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that is the definition of insanity. So if you don't like where you are, you got to change something.
Yep.
Number two, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that you can't control. But there are some things you can control. And if you control and make the changes in the areas that you control the controllables, you're going to see a real positive response in the math, in your numbers, but also in your anxiety level going down.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Okay, so let's kick it off. 12 things. Number one, first and foremost, the budget. That's right. We always talk about budgeting on the show. But really, being intentional with your money, if you've not been doing this, it's one of the keys, if not the key, to really building wealth and winning financially.
You know, it's an old thing that's been out there forever in the sense that, you know, like you go to an old sales school back in the 70s or in 80s that I would have gone to, okay? And they say, okay, 5% of the people set goals and 5% are inordinately more successful in their lives than the other 95%. Well, guess what? 5% of people do a budget. 95% don't. Well, and 5% are inordinately successful with their money. And so this is not something you go, oh, you know, it's just a Ramsey thing, or it's just my grandma said to do a budget, or it's kind of common sense to do a budget. But it actually is financial goal setting for the month.
Yep.
And it is what the people that win do. It's what winners do.
Yes.
If you want to win with money, and you don't really have a choice on this one. You've got to put it on paper on purpose before the month begins. Get your Every Dollar app out. Do that exact same thing where you're giving your money an assignment, because 95% of the public wanders around, has no idea where their money went. And they get to the end of the month, and they have too much month left at the end of the money, and stress and anxiety, and they are victims of all the outside influences and problems that we have right now, more so than those who control it.
Totally. And we hear all the time, you guys, that when you actually live on purpose with your money and you do a budget and you know where it's going, it does not feel like this restrictive, like, oh my gosh, I have to live cheap and it's not fun and all of this. That's how it's painted to feel. But after a while, when it becomes a habit in your life, it's actually such freedom, because you're like, okay, I'm controlling what I can control, which is my income. And I have the ability to like have a say over my life versus everything just happening to me, like what you were saying. It's like, no, you actually have a plan and you're putting actions to your money, to your hard-earned money as well. So quickly, a zero-based budget is what we teach. It's your income for the month minus all of your expenses, including giving and saving, should equal zero. So go download Every Dollar. It's like what he said, because there's great tutorials on that. But honestly, make it a habit of being intentional with where your money's going.
It gives you peace, and it is your choice. Mm-hmm. No one tells you what you have to put on the paper. You decide, and you are now in control. It's an old 90s word. You are empowered. The budget empowers you. Mm-hmm. It's overworked, overused word, but you know, we want to empower people. But that's what the budget does. It gives you power. You are empowered over the subject that is such a debilitating, shame-inducing subject.
Yeah. Absolutely, but give such peace and clarity. All right, number 2, budget for inflation. So inflation is something that we've experienced a lot in 2022. We're experiencing now. And so budgeting is going to help you, period, in your life, like what we're talking about, number 1, because it's actually going to give you margin. We find that people say, when I budget, I actually feel like I got a raise. So that in turn is going to help you combat inflation. But there probably are going to be things that you're going to have to cut. You know, I feel like we're so used to, in our world today, these things that we think are needs that are actually wants. And I'm not talking about just going and like splurging on a new pair of shoes, But I mean, it's everything from like subscriptions, if there's like delivery services, like these things that we have in the rhythm of our lives, that there's times that it's like, okay, if the budget is tight, there are things that you will have to cut in order to make the math work, and specifically magnified because of inflation. So inflation is something that we've talked about a lot this past year, but it's affected people's budgets and you feel it, and so you do have to adjust for it.
I think the way to get your mind around it is, the easiest way for me is this. When we first started helping people with their money, we were primarily working with people in extreme distress. They're almost in foreclosure. They're 5 house payments behind. They're 2 car payments behind. They have lost a job. They've got extreme financial stress. Okay, how do you fix that? Budget. What do you do with that? Well, your budget becomes the on and off switch between needs and wants. And you have to take care of your needs first: food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and utilities. We always call it keep the 4 walls of your house up, right? And if you take care of those needs and you go, okay, I'm warm, I'm fed, I have shelter, the car has gas in it, but it does have gas in it, right? All of that, I can kind of relax because I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to be, then I can look at the wants and go, well, this is a monopoly game and it's not going so well on the wants. I got to cut some stuff out. So, but if you try to just pile in there, food as opposed to Netflix, one's a necessity and one's a want. And then you go, your brain just starts to explode with anxiety, with stress, and you start to be overwhelmed. And then you start screaming at the TV and at the politicians to get this fixed because you're now a victim of the thing. But when you take control of the necessities, it allows your body, as Dr. John Deloney would say, to relax.
Yep, absolutely.
And your shoulders to drop. And then the rest of it is like, well, this sucks, but I can still work it through.
Yep. All right, speaking of people not waiting on the government to fix everything. Number 3. Do not wait on student loan forgiveness. You guys, if you have student loans, be paying on them, okay? And this is kind of a controversial subject because we talk about all the time at Ramsey, we want you to be debt-free, but we don't want you waiting on someone else to do it. Because let's be honest, when you wait on Washington and you're waiting on everything to happen, may not, probably not, could not happen. But 100% sure if you pay off your debt, that will happen. And so this is something that a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people and it's like, I'm gonna just wait and see. But here's another thing too. If you do pay it off and you wanna get in the system and they pass it and it actually goes through and everything, you can get a refund. You can apply for that, maybe. But this idea of waiting, because it sounds good, right? If you are $40,000 in student loan debt and they're like, yeah, we're gonna pay some of that off for you. It's like, well, that sounds great. Instead of me going and getting an extra job, cutting expenses, that sounds a whole lot better. But the hard thing is, those promises are not usually kept. That's what's hard.
Well, they either couldn't keep them or had no intention of keeping them from the start, depending on your political view and your view of the people in office. And so, why are you being played by this subject? Why are you being, for what, 4 years we've been talking about this. And now it has come down to it is an unkept political promise at this stage. Well, I understand. It's still in the air. Everybody's still talking about it, but that's all they're doing is talking. And again, back to our earlier thing, how do you fix your life? You fix your life. You don't wait on someone else to fix it. It's the best formula. Oh, and by the way, you signed paper that said you were going to pay it back. There's that too. All
right, number 4, pay off your debts. We're talking about student loan debt, but we're going to talk about all of the debts. So being debt-free, I feel like that's one of the cornerstones of Ramsey Solutions. It's one of the things that I feel like we're known for the most. But you guys, when you have the ability to pay off your debts, when you work the plan and you don't have payments, we say it on the show all the time, but the freedom that comes with that, not just the financial freedom, but also the emotional freedom, the spiritual freedom, there is so much that is unleashed when you don't owe anyone anything. And it is a powerful, powerful financial principle that goes against the grain, because a lot of people are actually saying money's cheap. So why would you not? Why would you not borrow and leverage and use money to make money? All of that's the culture and always has been. That's nothing new. But there is something about this deeper meaning of being debt-free.
If you want to follow your broke financial friends' financial advice, you're going to be just like your broke financial friends. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's look at who you're listening to and try to find some data points that are actual facts, not mathematical theory that you discussed while having one too many glasses of wine with someone. It's economic theory, but try to find someone who actually used that theory and became wealthy. You just can't find it. You can't find it. And we've got piles of data of 30 years and millions of people that have figured out that when you don't have any payments, you have control of your most powerful wealth building tool. You are much more likely and it's much easier to build wealth when you stay out of giving everybody else your money.
That's right. So we always talk about getting out of debt using the debt snowball. So simply that's where you list out all of your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate, pay minimal payments on everything and start with that smallest debt first. And again, there's so much content on this channel as well as we talk about on the Ramsey Show all the time. So make sure to check it out if you are new to that. All right, number 5, beware of buy now, pay later. This is everywhere. I did all my Black Friday shopping. I usually use Black Friday and Cyber Monday to do my Christmas shopping because it's just good deals. So I'm like, all right, I make my list and I do it. And every single time I checked out, it was like, you could actually only pay this, a fourth of what it was. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it is wild, though, the psychology that they use, being able to show you a number, because it's even where they place it when you check out. You're like, oh, I see what you're doing after pay. I see what you're doing. Comparing your bill to that and how it's like, oh, yeah, well, that's so easy. That's so easy. And people are doing it. Buy now, pay later users have increased by 56% just in the last year. So people love the 4 payment method versus the 100% payment method.
And it's, for an old guy like me, an old boomer, it's kind of humorous that people act like this is something new. Your mom and I were moving, as you know, we sold our house and we're cleaning out a whole bunch of junk. And I found the newspaper from the early 1970s when Richard Nixon resigned.
Oh, wow. Look at you keeping archives.
Yeah, who knew?
Oh, my
gosh. But what was
gosh.
very interesting was not the article on that, but was flipping through.
Oh.
And these ancient ads for cars, ancient ads for, clothing at Castronauts, which is a store that's been gone for 1,000 years, right? This kind of thing. And it's the exact same verbiage. Easy payments. Quick, easy payments. Just come down. We'll take care of you. No down payment. It's the exact, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, Klarna is not new. It's just got a weird name. It's just not new.
And online.
And 78% of millennials who use Afterpay missed a payment. And it's everywhere, you guys. And it's kind of really, it's absurd, really, when you look at it. If you kind of back up from it, you go, this is just very childish. I mean, like, I bought a little T-shirt with a funny saying about golf on it. It was $9. And it pops up. Do you want 4 payments on a $9 shirt? Oh, my gosh. You probably don't need to buy a golf shirt. Oh, my gosh. It's
everywhere.
Payments on $9. 4 easy payments. Oh, God. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And that just tells you the absurdity of how far these companies have gone and how far they've lost their minds.
Yeah. So be aware, you guys, because what ends up happening is they get you in to get that lower payment. And then you feel like, oh, well, I can spend more now because I can spend that, and then I'll just have to make it. And so the whole thing, it's debt. It causes you to spend more. Not a good plan. So avoid Afterpay. All right, number 6, along those same lines, just pay attention this year to your online spending habits. Mine are not great, let's be honest. Things like Amazon and being able to get to things quickly, it creates an environment where I'm like, oh, it's so easy. There's no friction.
Right.
So if you need something, it's like, oh, I can just get it on Amazon now. This is how I am now, and I'm good. Where if I had to wait 2 or 3 days to go to Target or Walgreens or actually go to the store to buy it, I may have forgotten about it or not even needed it 3 days later. But in the moment when you feel like you need something, how quickly it is. And it's fascinating because studies show that between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. are the peak times for online purchases. After a long day.
Different kind of doom scrolling.
You're laying in bed and you're just buying some stuff. So you have to pay attention. This is my weak spot that I have to be really diligent on because it's the convenience for me. And then I end up spending more. And I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah, again, if you pan back and get out of the daily rhythm that has become our lives,
100%.
and you look at stuff like Klarna, or you look at the way we purchase things now, it is kind of bizarre in the scope of history. I mean, I remember that movie that was out when you were a little kid, the Aladdin movie. Robin Williams was the genie, right? You know, the genie would give you 3 wishes. You rub the lamp, right? And now you walk around with a genie in your hand who just gives you every wish. And it's unlimited wishes, by the way. Unlimited stupidity. You can just go on for days and buy things. And it's like you have this, it's like we've given children a magic wand and no judgment with it. And so don't be a child with a magic wand. I mean, that's the thing.
I know, it is so true. I sometimes, I'm like, I'll go through something like on my phone and I'm doing something and I will have that moment where I'm like, this is crazy. Like I bought pizza from the Papa John's app. Literally, you click the app, you click the pizza order, and then it's Apple Pay. So I just double click on my face and the pizza shows up. Like 45 minutes later, I was like, this is
It's like a magic wand.
The convenience can be great, but also can make you spend more. So it's nuts. All right, number 7, make sure your emergency fund is fully funded. So once you are out of debt, we talk about bumping up your starter emergency fund of $1,000 that you get before you get out of debt. And then you bump that up once you're debt-free to 3 to 6 months of expenses. And you want to make sure this continues to stay full because some of you, which is great that you had the emergency fund dipped into it in this past year if something came up, but you just always want to make sure that it's full. So if you went into your emergency fund, then make sure all of your efforts are going to refund it because just having that safety net in life gives you such peace and such comfort just knowing, okay, I have cash in the bank.
Yeah, things are more expensive and I want to keep spending at a level that is not sustainable is not an emergency. Buying things that you want to buy and just yelling at inflation and going, it's inflation's fault. No, it's your fault. You have to stay within your budget. And, you know, it's not an emergency. Now, your heating and air going out is an emergency. Your tire going flat could be an emergency. But things are now tight, so I'm using my savings to not adjust my behaviors to reflect an inflationary economy is not an emergency. That's a choice, and it's a bad one. So stay out of your emergency fund unless it's an emergency.
That's right. Yep. And like we talked about earlier, getting out of debt, that's part of that is cutting up your credit card. So don't use your credit card as an emergency fund. It needs to be cash in the bank. That's your emergency. All right, number 8, don't stop investing. So if you're on baby step 4, which means you're out of debt, you have a fully funded emergency fund, that's when you invest 15% of your income into retirement. And a lot of people, we take calls on the Ramsey show, or I feel like I do a lot, where they're like, should I still be putting money in? Oh, you know, the market is down, it's going crazy. I don't feel comfortable doing it. And a lot of people are cautious around it. And we're like, no, that's the time to do it. Like, that's the time to do it. I was watching a video on Instagram, hold your breath. And actually her advice was great, this girl, because she was like, you know, wealthy people, you know, Warren Buffett said it too, you know, when people get fearful, that's when you need to get greedy. Greedy's not a great word, but it's like, okay, I'm going to jump in because when you invest when it's low and you put your money in, you get more, right, for it because it's on sale. And then as it rides up, you get to ride that wave and make more and more money in your investments. Where people that say, no, I'm fearful, so I'm going to pull out, and I just say, I don't want to do anything, then they try to get in when it's going up, and then they don't make as much money. So there is this like kind of that science of continue to invest. Continue to invest up or down because you're going to ride all the waves for the good and the bad, but also for the good because we believe in investing enough and the economy enough to believe that it is all going to come back, and it's been doing this a lot, but it's powerful when you do it when it's low and people are fearful. I
haven't stopped my investment. Don't stop your investing. The only one that gets hurt on a roller coaster is the one that jumps off in the middle of the ride. And I'm 62, so, you know, I'm that retirement age type of a thing. I'm not going to retire, but you know, you see the point. I mean, I'm in that same age bracket, and even I haven't stopped investing. In other words, I don't have as long a window to invest that money as like you would.
Right.
And so, but even in that situation, I'm still investing because it's on sale, y'all. Rachel's exactly right.
Yep. So things like your 401k, Roth IRA, all great places to invest. All right, number 9, don't sit on the sidelines if you're ready to buy a home. People have been talking about real estate a lot, and you may not know this, but one of your voiceovers, someone took a voiceover of you from, I guess, the Ramsey show and put it on Instagram, and it became a trending, reel. It became a trending audio clip that people then started putting everywhere on their stuff. And it was a lot of realtors that were like, yeah, this is what Dave Ramsey says, buy the house, buy the house. And if you're scared about interest rates and they go back down, then you can refinance. Yep.
Just refinance. Yeah.
But it was trending, so you may not have known that. But
no, because I don't keep up with that stuff. But
I know you don't. But you're welcome. You're welcome.
The point is, though, whether it's on Instagram or not, the point is that real estate. We've seen some price adjustments because some of them were overpriced because some of the sellers' asking prices were. Kind of still had the mentality of a white-hot, crazy post-COVID market. And that's no longer here. We've got a very calm, almost sedate market right now. It's really kind of everybody's like, if they buy a house, they're kind of sneaking around to do it, kind of a thing. And so it's slowed down. The volume has slowed down. And so you're still going to see these prices maintain. You're not going to see them go down. And the supply-demand curve is there. So we're not going to see this. You're not going to see it go away. The prices have come down, values have not come down. And so in some markets it's just sitting there steady, and it's just not cray-cray like 83 offers in one weekend thing. Right. All of that stuff's gone. Thank goodness, it needed to go away. But this is a great time to sell a house, and it's a great time because there's a lot of buyers. There's more buyers than there is houses. It's a great time to buy a house, and it's a great time to sell a house. We did that real estate reality check that you and I and we did, and millions of people watched that thing on the stream, and the data that we have in there and our predictions have proven months and months later to have been completely accurate.
What it is. All right, number 10, if you are married, have joint checking accounts. So this is something that we talk about a lot, that we get a lot of pushback for. But listen, here's the deal. When you are married, you become one in every aspect of your life, including your money. And the couples that say, we're a team, we're doing this together, it's not yours and mine, and we play this whole game, but we are in this whole thing together, and we are working towards the same goal, we're on the same team. Those are the ones, you guys, that honestly, they financially win faster and even greater because they end up doing more and more and more because of that connectedness that they have. And then to the marriage side, which I always think is fascinating, their marriage deepens. I mean, there's this level of intimacy that's created when you say to your partner, it's everything. Like when we are married, what's mine is yours. Like we are in this together, and it does something to the level of your marriage as well. And so it's huge, but we get a lot of pushback on it.
We get a lot of pushback on a lot of things because the culture's lost its mind. But the truth is this: your treasure's where your heart is. It says in the Bible. So where you spend your money says what's important to you. And when you combine your spending and you combine your investing and you combine your financial decision-making, you are agreeing on, and it requires a lot of communication and a little bit of friction and a little bit of give and take, but we're agreeing on our values. We're agreeing on our fears. We're agreeing on our dreams. And when you just have your little thing, he has his little thing, or she, back and forth, then you don't have combined dreams. And then look up later and you're divorced and you wonder why. Well, you didn't have combined dreams. We weren't going to the same place. You can't, it's much more efficient to get to the same place if you're both in agreement on what the same place is.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's the way that this thing works. And again, it's data-based, meaning that of the 10,167 millionaires that we interviewed, a high percentage of them, 79%, said they work very, very closely with their spouse. Not, I became wealthy in spite of my spouse.
Yeah.
Or without my spouse's knowledge. And I just went over here and did it over here to the side, and they did their thing. We never hear that from millionaires. I mean, never. It never comes up. The number of people that stand on the stage upstairs here at Ramsey Solutions and do their debt-free scream right outside the Ramsey Show studios, and they say, I brought my spouse with me to scream, but I really did it all by myself. It's precisely zero.
Yeah.
That just does not happen.
Yep, that's right. So it's something powerful, you guys, on a marriage aspect, but also a financial aspect. So work together. All right, number 11, have a bigger why for your money. So when you are getting out of debt and it's exhausting and you're tired and you're working the debt snowball, having that why continues to motivate you. When you start to build wealth and you're thinking, okay, what am I going to do with this? How are we going to handle this? That why is still going to motivate you. So having a big why is going to help you through this entire process.
I think the thing to think about is, what is money good for? And that'll give you your why. Because money, just to have money, is useless. It's just a tool, though. It's a tool that God gave you. You're supposed to manage it for Him and for your family. Okay, so now what are we going to do with this tool? This thing that allows me to lift, this thing that allows me to move things. What's the tool for? And then that'll start to give you your why. And you go, gosh, if I had a big pile of money, what would be the benefit of that? Well, I would have margin. I would have choices. I could help others and be generous. I could change my family tree. My kids wouldn't have to worry about going to college or anything. I mean, my relationships, I'd be a lot less stress. And so money, it's what money does that matters. The money itself is not important.
Right. That's so good. All right, last but not least, have hope for your money in 2023. So listen, it's been hard. We've talked to so many of you, and it's been a struggle. Some of you have faced things in the last 2.5 years that you never thought you'd have to face. And it's all come to fruition. And so there's some of you out there that are thriving and you're doing great. You're doing the plan, you're feeling the traction, and it's awesome. And there's those of you that are thinking, I don't know if I can keep going. I don't know if I can keep going. But I just want to tell you, if you're discouraged, I want you to have hope. Hope that you can do it. And you guys, we've seen every story you can imagine, from every debt level, every income level, every background of a person, everything. But one characteristic that continues to be consistent in people that we see that win is they believe they can. And that doesn't mean that life is going to do this. It's going to do kind of like the stock market. It goes up and down, up and down, and up and down. So you're going to have good times, you're going to have bad times. But the belief, though, that you have the ability to change your life and your money, that hope and that intentionality is the thing that separates people from actually winning and those that don't. So again, if you're having a hard time, just know that this is a season and continue to press forward. I was talking to a lady, I was traveling, and she came up and just tears. And she just said, I listen to you guys every day. And she was like, it's been the worst year of my life, and I just don't feel like I can keep going. But seeing you right now, this is giving me this is a grace from God. And she gave me a hug, and we had to keep passing because I was traveling. But I'm like, there's just, it's hard. It's hard, and people are in different parts of their stories. And so if that's you, that's kind of had that moment or that year where you're thinking, man, it is tough. Just know that there's people, a building here in Nashville that we work day in and day out to help you, and that believe in you and support you. And that hope is something that is so crucial to have in your money and in your life.
The weight of all the bizarre things that have happened in the last 24 to 36 months, politically, racially, pandemics, quarantines, inflation, the weight of all of that is soul-eating. It's discouraging for anyone. And it is interesting to me, having sat in this seat for 30 years, that you can simultaneously acknowledge that there's a reality to that weight, there's a reality to the anxiety and the stress and the mental wellness effect of all of that, and simultaneously say, and yet, there's a reality that says hope. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. It'll kill you. But when desire comes, it is the tree of life. And so, hope comes from believing that this is not all this stuff that's out there, and that the weight of all this stuff. And, you may have to change your inputs. You may be watching too much TV. You may be doom scrolling too many horrible, negative websites about whatever the subject is that you're obsessed with, that's causing, that you can't do anything about. But if you sit down and say, you know what, as for me and my house, we're going to live. We're going to live. And we're not only going to live, we're going to live in abundance. And in spite of all of these things that are there, and in spite of this weight I feel in my soul, I also have simultaneously, and it's not unintelligent, this positive thing, this abundant mentality, this idea that hope is there, that I can really get there. And you can. I promise you can. I've walked with people individually out of situations, and I've walked with America through all kinds of different crises over the 30 years I've been doing this. Everything from the towers falling after 9/11 to 2008 to other things, all kinds of things have come at us. This latest round of stuff is really heavy and dark and black. But you know what? You're going to be okay.
All right, you guys. Well, I hope that gave you some encouragement. I hope it gave you some insight and some direction on looking at your money and your life for 2023. So winning with money, it's not a big secret. It's not. You just have to devote yourself to basic common sense money habits and remain patient and diligent. And that's one reason that Financial Peace University continues to be a tool that we use all the time and we tell people about all the time, because it is the thing that's going to allow you to actually be educated. You're going to start to learn and encourage you through those money habits. So if you want to check out Financial Peace University, it's 9 courses. And again, you're going to learn everything from insurance and investing to budgeting. So make sure to go to RamseySolutions.com and click Financial Peace University, or click the link in the show notes. Dave, thanks so much for being on.
Good to be here.
Wish we had a little cheers to the new year, 2023. It's here.
An homage to Smart Money Happy Hour.
It's here. I know. That too. All right. Make sure to share this video with a friend who's looking forward to what's coming up in 2023. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.